What's happening? It's your boy, Symbolic Sportsaholic, bringing you a brand new edition of Weekly Recap and Fantasy Update. Hey guys, I just want to give a quick shout out to NV Fusion for the suggestion of the new video. And sorry if my voice is a little off. I'm sick as of late. I have a cold, so bear with me. Alright. Last week, I honestly couldn't have had a better week in week 7. It was one of the best weeks I've had all year. The Steelers won. I won in my fantasy league. And I was nearly perfect on my picks. I went 12-1 on my picks. My only loss was the Browns. Almost upset the Colts, but they didn't quite do it, so the Browns lost it there. There's my picks. I'm in a league with 3 other people, and we do weekly predictions. And those are mine on the left there. It's hard to see unless you're in full screen. But yeah, the Browns game was the only one I predicted wrong. I was 11-2 against the spread as well, which is pretty damn good. And yeah. Okay, and yeah, so with about my prediction league, the winner with the best win percentage by the end of the season wins. And those are my picks against the spread. It might be kind of hard to see. The one on the bottom there, you can't quite see it, but I did pick the Bears plus 5.5. And I had a lot of people ask me about my fantasy team. So basically, my team name is Pittsburgh Steelers, as you can see. I am in a league. I'm leading the league right now with over 700 points fired and like 500 points against. My record's 5-2. But I had some people ask me, like, hey, Symbolic, who's on your fantasy team and all that. So I just want to talk about that real quick. My quarterbacks are Drew Brees and Phillip Rivers. My running backs are LaShawn McCoy and Marshawn Lynch, Alfred Morris, Reggie Bush, and Mikael Ashore. My receivers are Mike Wallace, Vincent Jackson, and Reggie Wayne. My tight ends are Jimmy Graham and Owen Daniels. My defenses are Pittsburgh Steelers and the Arizona Cardinals. My kickers are Sebastian Janikowski and Blair Walsh. And yeah, so my team's pretty beast, I'd say. Now I'm going to talk about the games that happened on Sunday. The Seahawks and 49er Thursday night game was a good one. A very defensive game. Alex Smith made some very poor decisions in the red zone, throwing a pick in the end zone. But their defense won them that game. Frank Gore did a great job as well. So that's why the 49ers won in a close one. But alright, here we go. The Cardinals and the Vikings. John Skelton sucks, period. But the Cardinals defense always keeps them in the game. The Vikings looked pretty good, but Christian Ponder is sort of in a slump. I think he'll pick it up next week, but we'll see what happens. I still think this Vikings team is very, very good, which is, I think they're the shocker of the NFL this year. I don't think anyone predicted them to be 5-2, so they're pretty good. Now there's the Cowboys and the Panthers. The Cowboys are not living up to potential. They did beat Carolina, but Carolina is having drama in the locker room. Cam Newton's being a little bitch, but I can't really explain that. The Cowboys' defense is the only reason why they're even somewhat relevant. Their offense has been struggling, and their receivers can't catch the ball. I mean, you can't even put all the blame on Tony Romo. It's not one person's fault. I know they're 500, but I think that's about where they belong. I don't think they're an extremely good team. And then Panthers only have 1 win. I'm not a huge believer in them still. I liked their season last year, but I think they're starting to give up already in that tough. I mean, the Falcons are in their division, so they're already 5 games back. It's looking like the road's coming to an end here. Now we have the Saints and the Bucks. Man, an offensive shootout here. The defenses looked pretty weak, though. But I was impressed, actually, with the Bucks last week with Mike Williams and Vincent Jackson. Josh Freeman did a pretty good job. And Doug Martin, too. He's turning out to be a good back. But the Saints, though, Drew Brees continues to put up the points, but his defense continues to struggle. Oh man, it's gonna be the death of that team. They need to start rebuilding that defense. It's looking pretty bad. Now we have the Packers, the Rams. All right, the Packers. They looked pretty good against the Rams. They won 30-20, I think, but it should have been 30-13. The Rams scored with like 10 seconds left on a pointless, touchdown or whatever. But the Packers are still looking like one of the best teams in the NFC. They're starting to pick it up. I like how they're moving the ball. Their defense is playing pretty well. I mean, they gave up 20 points to the Rams, which is the 29th ranked offense in the league, but I still like the Packers. They're playing pretty well. Now we have the Skins, who honestly, offensively, are just tearing it up. RG3 is running and passing for a lot of yards. He's actually turned out to be so good, which is what I predicted. Alfred Morris, too, he's a great back. He's another solid option. This is looking like a Mike Vick, LaShawn McCoy duo, except for they actually have a coach that allows them to perform. And Mike Shanahan and his son Kyle Shanahan, I think, the offensive coordinator. But about the Giants, I still think the Giants are one of the better teams in the NFC. They got lucky with that Victor Cruz pass, but I'm glad they did. They're going to have another challenge this week, but I like the Giants against the Cowboys in their division. But this isn't picks video, this is review. So, here we go. We got the Ravens and the Texans. As a Steelers fan, this was an awesome game to watch. The Ravens just crumbled. I knew they would lose. I didn't know they'd lose by 30 points. Ray Lewis is that defense. You have to think, it's not just his player ability. It's more of his mental ability. He knows where to put his guys on defense, and without him, they struggle. I mean, he's the one with the microphone from the defensive coordinator. It's hard to listen to the new guy, so Terrell Suggs was back, and he got a sack, I think, but it wasn't enough. The Texans just demolished them. I still think the Texans are the number one team in the AFC, no question about it. Now we have the Titans and the Bills. This was a shootout. Both defenses looked horrendous. I watched this game as well. I actually usually watch every game. I usually watch the Red Zone channel on Sundays. And it shows any big plays, But if I don't watch it, then usually I just watch the highlights afterwards. I watch as many full games as I can. I watch football from 10 a.m. Well, I live in California, so Pacific, 10 to till the night game's over at like 8, so all day pretty much. Now we have the Browns and the Colts. The Browns, they're not that bad. They could have won that game if Josh Gordon, it wasn't even his fault. The sun was in his eyes, but he dropped that ball, perfectly thrown by Brandon Weeden. That stadium, the dome was open. I could have sworn the sun was in his eyes, but in the Colts, I don't know. The Colts are pretty shady. They're week to week. They're a different team. I don't even know what to do about them. But I think these teams have potential. I don't think they're gonna be playoff teams, but they're working there. Maybe next year. All right, now we have the Jets and the Pats. This was actually a much better game than I expected. I picked the Jets to cover the 10.5 points because that's just a ridiculous spread. The Patriots haven't covered spreads in like 2 years. I don't know. They always give them a huge spread. I never take it, which is usually good. All right, but the Jets, Mark Sanchez, yes, I don't believe in him, but he does have great receivers in Curley and Santonio Holmes is out, and also some other people. But the Pats they were lucky they came back and won that in OT. This was another close game. The Jaguars' defense produced a ton of turnovers, but their offense couldn't perform. They kept going 3 and out. They did have their second string quarterback in, Chad Henne. And but Cecil Shorts, he's turned out to be a good receiver. But that I don't even know how the Raiders won that game, but I did watch it, but I'm glad they did. Raiders are going to have to play a lot better if they want to beat the Chiefs next week. And the Jaguars, I don't know what to think about them. They're just like, they're a basement team. They're not very good. I wanted them to do good this year, but I don't see it. I think they're maybe the second to worst team at this point. Alright, now we have the Steelers and the Bengals. My Steelers won. It was a pretty good game. It looked like it was going to be a blowout towards the beginning on the Bengals half. But they started to struggle offensively in the second half. The Steelers, everyone says, oh, Steelers defense is so old. I get it. They're not as good as they used to be, but they're still a top 10 defense. So I don't know what you guys are talking about. I do think Ike Taylor is getting kind of old, but they played A.J. Green about as well as anybody I've ever seen. And that's why they won that game. A.J. Green was shut down, which left no options for Andy Dalton. He made some bad mistakes. He has the most interceptions in the league, tied with Brandon Weeden with 10 already. Alright, now we have the Lions and the Bears. This was a fun one on Monday night. Well, actually, it was pretty boring, but I liked it anyways. The Lions' offense just looked bad, which is weird. Their defense did okay, and they scored towards the end there, but the Bears' offense kind of struggled as well. Jay Cutler got hurt there in the middle of the game, but he came back, trying to tell the critics to stop calling him a wuss. Fight off bruised ribs, but anyways, keep 100 Woodies. You heard me.